Nyembesi's tale, Love Amidst the Stones of Dzimbahwe. During the twilight of the Iron Age, Dzimbahwe stood as a marvel of human ingenuity and resilience. This ancient stone city, nestled amidst rolling hills, lush savannas and sprawled over 1,800 acres, was a hive of activity, with its dense clusters of stone houses and bustling marketplaces. Towering granite walls, built without a single drop of mortar, rose majestically, their surfaces etched with the tales of 1,000 years. These stones whispered secrets of kings and queens, of battles fought and alliances forged, of merchants and explorers who brought stories and treasures from distant lands. Amidst the timeless stones of Dzimbahwe, where ancient tales wove through the very air, lived a young woman whose presence was as radiant as the morning sun. Nyembesi, a name meaning one who brings happiness, perfectly captured the essence of her spirit. This remarkable young woman was the beloved granddaughter of Mavuko, the kingdom's legendary healer, whose skills were as revered as the mighty granite walls surrounding their city. Nyembesi's life was a living tribute to her grandmother's legacy, her every step echoing with the promise of joy and the warmth she spread wherever she went. Mavuko's wisdom was like a river, deep and endless, flowing through Nyembesi as she learned the ancient ways of healing. Together, they would sit beneath the sprawling baobab tree, its roots entwined with their own shared stories and dreams. Nyembesi's hands were deft and gentle, her knowledge of herbs profound, but it was her spirit, brave and kind, that truly set her apart. Her dreams, however, soared beyond the stone walls and the healer's hut. She longed for adventures that would test her courage, for love that would fill her heart, and for a legacy that would echo through time. The air was thick with the scent of exotic spices and the hum of many languages as traders exchanged goods. Chinese porcelain, Persian faience, and Arab coins passed hands for the region's rich bounty of gold, ivory, and copper. This vibrant trade hub echoed with the clang of metalworkers, the chants of spirit mediums, and the negotiations of merchants. It was during one of these lively trading periods that Nyembesi, granddaughter of Mavuko, the revered healer, first laid eyes on Hondo. A warrior from the neighboring Roswi tribe, Hondo's presence commanded attention. Tall and muscular, his skin gleamed under the African sun, and his eyes were as sharp and piercing as a hawk's. Clad in the traditional garb of his people, he moved with the grace and confidence of a lion. Hondo's visits to Dzimbahwe were diplomatic missions, bridging alliances and ensuring peace between the tribes. Yet, his heart found a mission of its own when he met Nyembesi. Forbidden by the strict tribal traditions that governed their lives, their connections sparked in secret. Under the ancient baobab tree, a silent witness to their burgeoning love, they met in the dead of night. The tree's massive trunk and sprawling branches provided a sanctuary where they could share their dreams and stories. Nyembesi, with her delicate beauty and sharp intellect, was unlike any woman Hondo had known. Her knowledge of herbs and healing, passed down from her grandmother Mavuko, fascinated him. Despite the dangers, their clandestine meetings became the highlight of their lives. They spoke of a future where their tribes could be united, where love could transcend the rigid boundaries set by their elders. The tension in Dzimbahwe was palpable as rumors of their forbidden romance began to stir. Warriors from both tribes watched with suspicion, and the elders frowned upon any breach of tradition. But under the canopy of stars, Hondo and Nyembesi's love grew stronger, a beacon of hope and defiance against the ancient customs that sought to keep them apart. Nyembesi had been promised to Mavuto, a man whose wealth and influence were unrivaled within Zimbabwe. Mavuto, already the husband to several wives, was seen as a key figure in solidifying political alliances, ensuring the kingdom's continued prosperity. His numerous wives and opulent lifestyle only added to his status, making him the ideal match in the eyes of the elders. However, Nyembesi's heart was bound to Hondo, and the prospect of a life without him filled her with despair. During one of Zimbabwe's grandest trading events, where merchants from distant lands gathered and the air buzzed with negotiations and the clink of exotic goods, Hondo presented Nyembesi with a gift. It was a meticulously carved soapstone bird, the Hongwe, revered as a symbol of the Shona people's spiritual and cultural legacy. This token was not just a gift, it was a silent vow of his eternal love and a bold promise to challenge the rigid traditions for her sake. As the day of her union with Mavuto approached, Nyembesi found herself ensnared between her duty to her family and her love for Hondo. The tension reached a fever pitch when Mavuto discovered the Hongwe among Nyembesi's possessions. The significance of the bird and the implied defiance was not lost on him. Enraged, Mavuto took the matter to King Mutota, the sovereign ruler whose word was law. King Mutota, a figure whose authority was matched only by his wisdom, summoned Hondo to his court. The grand hall, usually a place of celebration and strategy, was thick with suspense as the king addressed the accused warrior. "Hondo of the Roswi tribe," King Mutota's voice resonated through the hall. "You have breached our customs and traditions. For the stability of Zimbabwe, you are henceforth banished. Should you return, you will face the full extent of our laws." Nyembesi's world crumbled at the king's pronouncement. Tears streamed down her face as she watched Hondo being escorted from the city, their dreams shattered by the unyielding hand of tradition. Their love, as intense as it was, seemed doomed to remain an unfulfilled secret. As her marriage to Mavuto loomed, an unexpected series of events unfurled, delaying the union and setting the stage for a dramatic confrontation. Just days before the wedding, a crisis erupted in Dzimbahwe. A group of rogue traders, angered by a perceived slight in trade negotiations, launched a surprise attack on the city's outskirts. These mercenaries, armed with weapons obtained through illicit trade routes, sought to disrupt the city's economic stability by targeting key trade routes and looting the market stalls. The attack sent waves of panic through Zimbabwe. The marketplace, usually vibrant with the exchange of goods from across the continent, became a scene of chaos and destruction. Mavuto, being one of the most influential and wealthy men, was expected to lead the defense. Meanwhile, Hondo, driven by love, plotted his daring return. Under the cover of darkness, he and a small band of loyal warriors from the Roswi tribe approached Zimbahwe. They moved stealthily through the rugged terrain, avoiding the main roads patrolled by Mavuto's men. Hondo's plan was bold, to reach the heart of Zimbabwe and rescue Nyembesi. Their journey was fraught with danger. They traversed treacherous paths, using their intimate knowledge of the land to evade patrols. Hondo's keen senses and the warriors' stealth allowed them to slip through the defensive lines unnoticed. As they neared the city walls, Hondo sent a messenger ahead, a young boy from Zimbabwe who had served as a lookout, to inform Nyembesi of his imminent arrival. Inside the city, Nyembesi received the message with a mix of fear and exhilaration. She knew the risks Hondo was taking and the consequences if they were caught. Under the guise of nightfall, she moved through the city and sought the counsel of her grandmother, Mavuko. She found her in her humble dwelling, surrounded by the pungent aroma of herbs and the soft glow of flickering lamps. Mavuko, her eyes clouded with age, yet still sharp with wisdom, beckoned her granddaughter closer. "You have come to seek guidance, child," she said, her voice a soothing balm in the tense atmosphere. "The spirits have been restless, and they have shown me many things." Nyembesi sat next to her, tears glistening in her eyes. Grandmother, I fear what lies ahead. I cannot bear the thought of leaving you and our people, but my heart belongs to Hondo. Mavuko held her hands tightly. The path you choose is fraught with peril, but it is also one of great love and bravery. The spirits have spoken of the fate of Dzimbahwe and of my own journey beyond this world. Nyembesi's breath caught in her throat. What have they shown you, grandmother? With a deep, mournful sigh, Mavuko began to speak of the future. Dzimbahwe, the city of stone and pride, will one day be abandoned. The people will scatter, driven by the exhaustion of the land and the depletion of our gold. The once thriving trade will falter, and the valley and hills will fall silent, the echoes of our ancestors lingering in the ruins. Nyembesi listened, her heart heavy with the weight of her grandmother's words. And you, grandmother, what of you? Mavuko's gaze softened, her eyes reflecting the firelight. My time in this world grows short, my child. The spirits have called me to join them soon. I will not see the day of Dzimbahwe's decline, but I will watch over you from the spirit realm. My death will be a part of the great cycle, and through it, you will find the strength to forge your own path. Tears streamed down Nyembesi's face as she embraced Mavuko, the elder's frail body, a stark contrast to the fierce spirit within. I will honor your wisdom, grandmother. Your spirit will guide me, and I will carry your love with me always. Mavuko smiled, a bittersweet expression of both sorrow and pride. Go, Nyembesi. Follow your heart and protect the love you have found. The spirits are with you, and so am I. With a final, tearful farewell, Nyembesi left Mavuko's hut, her resolve strengthened by her grandmother's prophetic words. The night was dark, but her path was clear. She would meet Hondo, and together they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, armed with the knowledge that their love had the power to transcend even the most daunting of traditions and obstacles. As they prepared to flee the city, Nyembesi carried with her the foretelling of Dzimbahwe's fate and the impending loss of her grandmother. The knowledge weighed heavily on her heart, but also fueled her determination to seek a future where love, courage, and the spirit of their ancestors could create a new destiny. As night fell, Nyembesi and Hondo prepared for their escape, the urgency of their situation underscored by the knowledge of Mavuko's prophecy. The city, though still on edge from the recent attack, seemed to hold its breath, as if aware that another significant moment was about to unfold. Hondo, disguised and determined, led Nyembesi through the shadowed alleys of Dzimbahwe, their steps silent but swift. The sound of distant drums echoed through the night, a reminder of the vigilance of their pursuers. The escape was perilous. Each corner turned a potential confrontation with guards loyal to Mavuto. As they reached the outskirts of the city, a sudden cry rang out. They were discovered. Hondo, drawing his weapon, faced the approaching guards with fierce determination. Go, Nyembesi, I will hold them off. But Nyembesi refused to leave his side. Together, they fought through the oncoming guards, their love and determination fueling their every move. In the chaos, King Mutota, having been alerted to the commotion, watched from his high vantage point. The sight of Hondo and Nyembesi fighting side by side with unyielding resolve stirred something deep within him. Despite his earlier decree, he could not help but admire the bravery and love driving Hondo and Nyembesi. He ordered his guards to stand down, allowing them a chance to escape the city unscathed. This unexpected turn of events shocked Mavuto and his men, who found themselves powerless to continue the chase. As they disappeared into the shadows, King Mutota knew that the time had come to bring about the change that Dzimbahwe so desperately needed. In the days that followed, Dzimbahwe slowly regained its footing. The markets were rebuilt, trade routes secured, and the threat of further attacks quelled. Yet, murmurs of the daring escape spread like wildfire, reaching every corner of the kingdom. The people, captivated by the tale, began to question the strict traditions that had governed their lives for so long. King Mutota, ever the wise and strategic leader, saw an opportunity in this unrest. He convened a grand assembly in the great enclosure, inviting not only the city's elders and council, but also representatives from neighboring tribes, including the Roswi. It was an unprecedented gathering, one that signaled significant change was afoot. As the assembly commenced, King Mutota stood before the gathered crowd, his presence commanding and authoritative. He recounted the events leading up to the present moment, his voice resonating through the stone walls. When he spoke of Hondo and Nyembesi's forbidden love, he did so with a mixture of gravity and admiration, highlighting their courage and the sacrifices they made. Mavuto, still recovering and humiliated by the recent events, listened intently, his face a mask of barely concealed anger. The tension in the air was palpable as King Mutota reached the climax of his speech. "Today, we stand on the precipice of change," King Mutota declared. "Our traditions have served us well, but there comes a time when we must look to the future and embrace new ways. Hondo of the Roswi tribe and Nyembesi have shown us that love and unity can transcend our ancient customs." Gasps and murmurs rippled through the crowd. No one had anticipated the direction of the king's speech. King Mutota raised his hand for silence. "Therefore, I decree that the banishment of Hondo is hereby lifted. He is free to return to Dzimbahwe, not as an enemy, but as an ally. Furthermore, the marriage arrangement between Nyembesi and Mavuto is annulled. Our alliances should be built on mutual respect and genuine connection, not forced unions." The assembly erupted into a mix of shock, applause, and disbelief. Mavuto, unable to contain his fury, stood up, challenging the king's decision. "This is madness. You undermine our traditions and my honor." King Mutota's eyes narrowed. "It is precisely because I honor our people that I make this decision. We must evolve, or we risk being torn apart by the very traditions we hold dear. Your wealth and status do not entitle you to claim another's life and happiness." With that, the king dismissed Mavuto's protest, leaving him fuming but powerless. Hondo and Nyembesi, having been secretly informed of the assembly by sympathetic allies, approached Dzimbahwe with cautious hope. When they arrived, they were greeted not with hostility, but with a tentative acceptance. King Mutota himself met them at the gates, his expression one of solemn recognition. "You have changed the course of our history," he told them. "Now, it is up to all of us to walk this new path together." Hondo bowed deeply, his gratitude evident. "We are ready to build a future where love and unity guide us." As they re-entered the city, hand in hand, the people of Dzimbahwe watched with a mixture of awe and respect. The legend of their love had not only survived, but had sparked a transformation that would shape the destiny of their kingdom for generations to come. Mavuko's departure from this world came like a whisper of wind through the ancient baobabs, her final prophecy echoing through the heart of Dzimbahwe. The news of her death swept across the city like a dark cloud, plunging its people into a sea of sorrow. As befitted a healer of her renown, her burial was an event of profound significance, steeped in the ancient traditions of the Shona. On the day of her funeral, the entire city converged in the central square, a place now heavy with a palpable sense of loss. Mavuko's body lay in state, surrounded by the herbs and sacred tools that had defined her life's work. These items, potent symbols of her healing prowess, were arranged meticulously, each one telling a story of battles fought against illness and despair. The proceedings were led by an elder whose spiritual depth was known to rival the great river Zambezi. Clad in ceremonial garb, his presence commanded respect and reverence. He stepped forward, lifting his arms to the sky, and began to chant. His voice was a deep, resonant timbre that seemed to vibrate through the very stones of Dzimbahwe. "Spirits of our ancestors," he intoned, "we summon you to welcome Mavuko, our cherished healer. She who has mended our bodies and soothed our souls now returns to your embrace. Guide her spirit to the sacred realm of our forefathers, where she shall find everlasting peace and continue to watch over us." The atmosphere grew dense with the fragrant smoke of burning herbs, their tendrils spiraling upwards like ethereal messengers. The crowd, unified in their grief and respect, joined in the chants. The air hummed with a collective energy, voices weaving together in a tapestry of sound. Women began to ululate, their high-pitched cries of lamentation piercing the air, while the men beat their drums in a steady, rhythmic cadence that echoed like the heartbeat of the earth itself. In this profound symphony of mourning, Mavuko's body was lifted and carried through the streets of Dzimbahwe. The procession wound its way to a sacred hill that overlooked the city, a place chosen for its spiritual significance. Here, on this hallowed ground, Mavuko was laid to rest in a stone tomb. The tomb, a masterpiece of Shona craftsmanship, was adorned with intricate carvings depicting scenes of her life and the spirits she had served. Offerings were placed around her final resting place, bowls of food and water, precious items, and symbols of protection. These were meant to ensure that Mavuko's spirit would be honored and well provided for in the afterlife. The community's collective prayers rose like a chorus to the heavens, seeking to bridge the gap between the living and the departed. In the years that followed, the city of Dzimbahwe felt the weight of Mavuko's final prophecy. The once bountiful gold deposits dwindled, and the land, exhausted by relentless cultivation, could no longer sustain its people. A series of devastating droughts compounded the city's woes, leaving its fields parched and its granaries empty. By the dawn of the 15th century, Dzimbahwe was a shadow of its former self. As the twilight of their beloved home loomed, the people gathered in the great square, their faces etched with sorrow and uncertainty. Hondo, a towering figure of strength and resolve, stood before them, his hand tightly clasping Nyembesi's, whose eyes shimmered with unshed tears. The once vibrant city now lay silent, its majestic stone walls and towers casting long shadows in the fading light. Each stone, each edifice, bore silent witness to the myriad emotions swirling in the hearts of its people. Hondo's voice rang out, steady and resonant, piercing the somber silence. My people, we stand here today with hearts weighed down by the enormity of our farewell. This land, these stones, have been our sanctuary for generations. They have echoed with our laughter, borne witness to our sorrows, and stood tall in our triumphs. These stones are not just our past, but a testament to the greatness that is Dzimbahwe. Nyembesi, feeling the profound gravity of the moment, looked out at the sea of familiar faces, friends and family, who mirrored her own sense of loss and trepidation. Tears finally spilled from her eyes, a silent acknowledgement of the shared grief. But remember, Hondo's voice grew stronger, a beacon of hope amid the despair. The spirit of Dzimbahwe lives within us. It is not bound by stone or soil. Wherever we journey, we carry with us the essence of our home, our culture, and our heritage. Our ancestors' wisdom and strength guide us, and the unity and love we share will forge our future. We may leave these stones behind, but they will forever hold the memories of our vibrant past. The exodus from Dzimbahwe was a bittersweet odyssey, a blend of mourning and hope. As they departed from the city that had nurtured them, the people carried not just memories, but the very soul of their culture. Hondo and Nyembesi, at the helm, became living symbols of resilience and unity, their love a guiding light for all. As years unfurled, the bustling life of Dzimbahwe faded into quietude, its grand structures slowly swallowed by nature's relentless embrace. Yet the legacy of Dzimbahwe thrived through its people. In foreign lands, they reconstructed their lives, drawing from the wellspring of ancestral wisdom and fortitude. The tales of their great city, its victories and tribulations, were passed down through generations, ensuring that the spirit of Dzimbahwe remained eternal. In time, the ruins of Dzimbahwe were rediscovered by explorers and scholars, who marveled at the sophistication and grandeur of this ancient civilization. The world came to recognize Dzimbahwe's historical significance, and efforts were made to preserve its heritage. The Hungwe bird, discovered among the ruins and a symbol of love and unity, became an emblem of hope, a poignant reminder of the enduring spirit and resilience of the people who once called Dzimbahwe their home.